Hey, everybody, in today's episode, we've got Andrew Ace Greenspan. Andrew lives in New York. He's a musician, phenomenal musician. I know you're going to love this. He actually plays a song on the show, and man, it was so good. It was definitely a change of pace for us, but Andrew wanted to come on to share about his recovery story and him being clean off of marijuana, benzos, and a lot of other things. And he got diagnosed with autism. He's had quite a lot of health consequences due to his substance use. And, he is a true representation of what recovery can do for people. And he's really making a huge impact by way of his music. It was an episode I really enjoyed. It was via Zoom, and I just know you're going to love it. So, Andrew, thank you and enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I'm your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we have a guest, Andrew Ace Greenspan. Andrew reached out to us to come on the show to discuss his sobriety journey, and it's pretty interesting. And I must say, we don't do a lot of these Zoom interviews, but I thought this one would be worth it. So we brought Andrew on the show to discuss obviously his addiction, his recovery now. I believe coming up or has 11 months clean and sober, and kind of the journey that led up to that. So we're going to cover all that and more. Enjoy the show. All right, Andrew. Hey, appreciate you coming on, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I do have to say off the top, it's 9 months, not 11.
Oh, well, who's counting? Nine
It's
months.
okay.
That's still good. That's still a big accomplishment. Where are you located at?
I'm in Nyack, New York.
Nyack, New York. Okay, cool. Um, you're obviously into music. That's a fair statement. Red Ivory Recordings. Explain to me what that is.
So that's the name of my recording studio. I named it that because red is my favorite color. Uh, Ivory, like the piano keys,
Okay,
and recordings for recording.
pretty straight and to the point.
Yep,
Well, it looks pretty amazing. Obviously, music is something that's been very influential in your life, I assume.
it has since I was 4 years old.
What was the first, how did you get introduced to music at 4 years old? Walk us through that.
Well, I would say my mom, we had a piano here, um, and I sat down. Uh, at age 4, I started playing Mozart and Beethoven. Um, I couldn't leave my house, or I couldn't go into the cul-de-sac and play stickball without having to take a piano break and coming back. So those games were not too productive with me. Um, but yeah, and then I was classically trained for about 13 years or so at a conservatory. I took some blues improvisation, some theory. I still can't read sheet music till this day, though. I'm all by ear, and if I hear it, I can play it. So yeah.
Wow. So at the end, you shared you're gonna give us a sample of what you're doing.
Yep.
That's great. Well, we're looking forward to that. So let's just get right into it. And we talked a little bit before press and record. Tell us a little bit about your addiction, kind of how you got introduced to drugs, and then obviously we're going to get into the recovery portion.
So in 2013, I was diagnosed with two stress fractures on L4 and L5 of my back. I had gotten that from skateboarding. I didn't have like one specific injury, it was the accumulation of falling constantly, the compression on my feet without the board. Um, so, um, so once I was diagnosed with the stress fractures, we were going to turn to pain management, which I believe I did some treatment, but it wasn't working for me with traditional medication. So we did a spinal cord stimulator surgery in 2015, and that surgery went wrong. I ended up developing autonomic neuropathy. So they took the stimulator out 4 months later in Mount Sinai in New York. Um, so after I had that out, it was just pain management. I began a course of opiates. Like I said, I was probably on them before the surgery. So, but yeah, I was also, since 2011, I was on benzos, a heavy duty amount of psychological drugs for depression, anxiety, all that. Today, I don't take anything. I'm not on any medication. But getting back to that portion, yeah, I was also on medical marijuana, which I thought was helping me. I was even interviewed by my local paper in Files One News because of how much it was helping me. And looking back, I see those articles, and yeah, it's pretty funny. So here I am today, and yeah.
The medical marijuana aspect of it, you shared before we started recording that you weren't able to really function without it. Take me through that.
No, I started marijuana when I was in right out of high school into college. It was with a band. They told me I was funnier. They said that I was a better person. Maybe not everyone agreed, but that's how it felt. Um, and it became a lifestyle with the music and just as I grew up. So it's hard to avoid, and especially with the music, you couldn't really avoid that scene.
Right.
So it's even hard now, of course, that I'm in recovery and I'm surrounded by that. But the understanding today is a lot bigger. There's a lot more support out there. People are more open about it. So it's helped me. Um, but yeah, getting back to how hard it was to not do it, I didn't realize how much I was struggling because I was so locked in that zone. Um, Looking back now, I could pinpoint this is so obvious. Like, I wasn't taking care of my health. I was gaining weight. Um, I just had all these problems, paranoia issues, and just wasn't myself. My music, I thought it was helping my creativity. It wasn't helping my creativity. It may have put me in a space for momentarily, but it didn't. It was very short-lived. So, yeah.
And what made you decide 9 months ago to really adopt this like recovery lifestyle? Was it a specific instance or event that took place?
Uh, so in 2023, I had gotten into trouble with my prescription medication. I started to abuse it. I was struggling at home, and I didn't know how to cope. Long story short, I convinced my parents I wanted to go to detox, and it took me about 5 detoxes to get totally clean. I had come off really abruptly at my first detox, off the benzos, the opiates, the marijuana. They didn't even factor in that could be relating to how much I was struggling at detox. Like they totally didn't talk about that. It's kind of out of your system in a few days and that's it. That's not how it was. Because I'm still dealing with it. I was on it for 12 years, maybe a little longer. So, and today the THC content everyone knows is so high, and I was consuming edibles, which were supposed to be safe. I also stopped too because I started to get a lot of CHS symptoms.
What is that?
Cannabis hypermesis, however you say that, syndrome, where it's like a lot of stomach issues, like it leads to vomiting, which I wasn't vomiting, but I was pretty close to that. A lot of stomach problems that were related to the marijuana. There's even support groups in my program directly for CHS, people struggling. So if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have known how to stop. getting too far. But yeah, like with what you were saying, it was to the point where my medical health took a toll. Um, in between one of my last detoxes, I had an overdose that I was not supposed to survive. Um, my dad found me unresponsive and I had a seizure. I woke up in a trauma room and was in the ICU with kidney issues, cardiac issues, renal failure. Um, and I wasn't supposed to live. Here I am, and I have this new album that I've wrote. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
Wow. So when you realized that you overdosed and you've survived, was it pretty much immediately that you decided like the gig's up. I really need to get a grasp on this.
I'll be honest, no, because I was
Yeah.
struggling so much that I didn't know what happened to me. I don't remember having the seizure. Uh, I don't still have any memory of it. Um, and it wasn't until I came home and I was struggling and I relapsed even harder. Um, and at my final detox, that's when I decided that I couldn't do this anymore, and it was just creating more medical problems,
Mm.
cardiac problems. I was in a cardiac unit again. Um, I couldn't finish the final detox because I was in a medical unit. So yeah, that's what did it.
And what was that? How did you, or maybe how have you, over the past 9 months, how have you maintained your clean time, your sobriety? Because you didn't, it sounds like you didn't go through a traditional, I mean, you went to detox and, that's a form of treatment. But it's a very small percentage of what a full continuum of care would look like. So you didn't go to treatment for like 90 days or 4 months or anything like that. You went to detox 5 times. On the fifth one, you realized, okay, I'm done. What did you do? How have you made it for 9 months?
Um, well, yeah, you're right. I every time I kept trying to go to rehab after the detoxes I did do, I only lasted a day or two. I was still going through extreme withdrawal. No one knew how to deal with me. Um, and I kept going back home, relapsing, and ending up in another detox. Um, so, uh, so yeah, and by the time I was at my last detox to go to a rehab, they said I needed to go to physical rehab because I wasn't walking. I was in such bad shape medically, I was in a wheelchair for a period of time. So, so yeah, I needed to get physical rehabilitation. And by the time I came home, I we were still looking for a program of some kind. I joined Marijuana Anonymous, and I found a sponsor, started to do well, and yeah, that's uh, that's how I've just been in the program. I started writing music. One other thing that I will say, I'm a little bashful about, but it was prescribed. It was a psychiatrist that told me to try Spravato, which is ketamine treatment for depression, treatment-resisted depression.
Hmm.
I didn't like what it did to me. I only did it for about 4 weeks last May, in 2023. No, I'm sorry, 2024. Um, and when I did the treatment, it was kind of life-changing for my depression. It rewired my brain. Like I said, I couldn't tolerate what it did medically. I had too many reactions to it. Uh, I also felt like if I kept doing it, I'd have to go back to it because it did give you like a trip for 2 hours. It
Mm.
telling me in that moment, this is not, I'm enjoying this too much kind of a thing. It's not good. But that was the thing that ultimately got me into recovery. Like it made me see like I'm gonna check out these meetings. I went to meetings, and that was the first time last sometime in May that started, and this bravado is what put me into this 7-track writing spree of my new album. Everything started in that month, and I've been doing better since.
Interesting. You said that you're bashful about that. Why?
Because I don't like to promote it. I don't want people to think that, oh, I want to do ketamine. That helped his recovery. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, I'm a little like careful with it, but I don't think I should hide it either because it definitely helped me. Um, but
yeah.
I, but I can't say I'd go running back to it with what I experienced too. You could have a lot of long-term issues from that treatment. So yeah.
I don't know how much you know about us, but we're obviously very heavily 12-step based. We're abstinence based. I believe in, recovery is in and of itself free and clear of any mood and mind altering substance. Now, some people will come out and say, well, coffee's mood and mind altering. Well, I never overdosed on coffee. I never robbed grandma because I needed coffee. I never got a DUI because I drank too much coffee. So, don't come at me with that sort of argument because it's just a silly one. Um, but with that being said, everybody's entitled to their own experience, right? And that's the beautiful thing about recovery is it's not a one size fits all thing, right? And Ben and I often say 12 steps doesn't have a monopoly on sobriety. There's many ways to go about this, and I personally don't care what way you choose, so as long as your motives are okay and you're doing it with a pure heart and with good intentions, you know? And my only, I suppose, issue with ketamine would be on a personal level for the individual. What's your motive? What's your intent? Um, is it, are you doing it just because, you heard Andrew say that you do trip for a couple of hours and you want to experience that trip? Well, that probably shouldn't be a viable option for you because the motive isn't there. But it sounds like in your situation, you didn't know, right? This was something that was recommended to you by a psychiatrist. I doubt the psychiatrist came to you and said, Andrew, I think you should try ketamine treatment. And by the way, you're going to trip and I think you're going to like it. I highly doubt they said that. They probably said, this could help your depression. So am I accurate with that? You went into it with the mindset that I want to try this because I really need help with my depression. See where I'm going with this? The motive
I do.
behind it was 100% pure.
Yeah, no, you had to have been unsuccessful without with going through a lot of antidepressants and other medications, and you have to still be on one antidepressant to do the treatment. At least that's how it was. So I checked out all the boxes for that, but of course I went into it knowing this treatment was to give me a better quality of life.
Yeah. And it did. It sounds like.
Definitely did, yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. Um, so how are things now? I mean, you're are you still doing a 12-step program? Are you still active in meetings and stuff like that?
So I'm in Marijuana Anonymous because that was
Hmm.
my biggest thing. Um, I go to 2 weekly meetings, Wednesdays and Fridays. Um, I have a sponsor. He's really great. Um, Sometimes I will do service on Wednesday and Friday meetings for what's called a sponsor jingle that I wrote. And I explain to newcomers what a sponsor is through the song. So it's actually going to be something that's going to come out as well, after the album is all released. So I enjoy doing that. It really, people, they're more engaged to want to connect with someone after the meeting. Marijuana Anonymous is a little harder to find a sponsor because it's so new,
Mm,
but there are people out there. So I'm continuously trying to give back to addiction programs, and it's my calling now.
that's awesome. Do you have the sponsor jingle? Is it done? Is it something that you could play for us or no?
It's still finishing up production, but
Okay,
yeah, I'll definitely share it when it's out.
cool. And so you're in Nyack, New York. Are you still with parents?
Yeah, I live with my parents. My studio is separate from them.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And how's their overall impression been over the last 9 months? I mean, they got to be extremely happy.
Yeah, they're very proud. I don't think in a million years they would have thought I could turn around like this, but they see it clearly. Um, and they couldn't be happier, especially when I'm on stage and helping other people that I'm speaking up about my personal experiences.
Right. That's amazing. Before we started recording, and I don't believe we touched on this, but you did share that you're on the spectrum, high functioning. Has
Yep.
that played an effect in any of this, whether good or bad? And full transparency, I don't know much about it, so I'm looking for education on it myself.
Um, so I was diagnosed on the spectrum when I was 18. It was late in life, so it was hard for me. I thought that kind of like put me into my addiction issues because I thought that I was different in a bad way, um, and that I wasn't going to be normal. A lot of friends at the time I lost, they didn't believe it, like it was just an excuse or whatever it might have been. So yeah, it took me some time. That's when I kind of started medication too, psychologically, and in the end, it just gave me more, nothing but problems. So yeah, but I learned that it wasn't something that made me not normal. It just made me have special abilities that I could do things that some people can't when it comes to music and how laser focused I am. I mean, with my new album, I did all the instrumentation, the guitar, drums, bass, vocals, piano, all the mixing, recording, mastering, and so I couldn't have done that if I was still using a substance. Not possible. So
Wow. So
yeah,
you can play all those instruments?
yep,
You said bass, guitar, piano, drums?
drums, vocals.
Is there anything you can't play?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I was never good at violin when I was younger. I couldn't do the coordination with the bow, and
Uh-huh.
I could pick it up now.
What about like saxophone and stuff like that? Have you ever tried any of those?
That's a similar family to me. Like, I think you have to have like a really strong diaphragm for that, which could happen, but yeah, I would give it another try.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so good to hear. And look, this is an interesting podcast for me because, I've never met somebody in your situation that has really taken their uh, addiction that you struggled with for so long and transformed it into something that is going to be very beneficial for people, in multiple arenas, not only the addiction part, but having, the diagnosis of being on the spectrum, how that played a role in your life, and kind of all this stuff coming together. It seems like, you know, uh, the perfect storm, right? And almost disastrous, and all the medical issues and everything that has come from all of this. And over the last 9 months, you've really transformed yourself, and that's amazing. It's
Yeah, and
really,
like thank you. Like one of the things also about being on the spectrum is like how like how literal people are. And like when someone tells me to do something, I try my best to follow it. Sometimes I follow it too much. So
mm,
now that I'm in sobriety, I'm really doing my best with that. And the only thing I've been a little bad with is that my sponsor has been nudging me to do my steps now that I finished my album. He's seen me work them like just with what I've been doing throughout the year. Um, but I have to start my book that I have and do the exercises, and that's been something on my schedule too. So I am gonna start that. Um, and I'm learning things in sobriety that I've really been missing out on. Like I'm taking care of my health. I've lost a ton of weight since I've been sober. I'm cooking real food. I used to just buy processed foods, pre-cooked
yeah,
meals. So yeah, it's amazing what you'll experience. You're actually feeling the moment when you're playing music with other people on stage. You're actually feeling that. You're not just in that headspace, and yeah. So
that's great. Well, congratulations on all that stuff. And
thank you so much.
yeah. So you shared at the beginning that you had the abilities to play a song that you wrote.
Yeah, I just released my first new single off my upcoming album titled Speed of Light. It's about what it was like for me to go through pause, post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Um, and sometimes it can feel like it's going at the speed of light, and sometimes it feels the opposite, where it's not moving. So I always wanted it to move at the speed of light, and yeah, that's what it's about.
Cool. Well, do you need some time to set up? What do I need to do?
Yeah, I'm just gonna set up and then I'll get going.
All right. Well, I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
My system's been broke, burning up in smoke. I'm begging for hope, for hope. I'm waiting to be found, casting shadows on the ground to the lasers and the sounds. I lost my trajectory, but I found my gravity. I'm taking off to the galaxy, feel my velocity. Speed of light, I'm taking off out of the day into the night. Feel the rumble in my core, hear my engine go. Oh, 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 oh. At the speed of light, the speed of light. I'm stuck in slow motion. I feel my own explosion. Time is frozen inside this vessel. I smell the burning metal. The spinning starts to settle. I found my trajectory. I can feel the gravity. I'm taking off to the galaxy. Feel my velocity. Speed of light. I'm taking off out of the day into the night. Feel the rumble in my core. Hear my
amazing.
Very good.
Thank you so much. It means the world to me for this.
So we got Ben here.
What's happening, my man?
Hey, how's it going?
No complaints. Sorry, I missed it. I was training our clients downstairs.
It's okay.
So we're still in the podcast. This is going to go into that was amazing. Do you have anything else or no?
I do. I have a whole album.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
everything is about my journey through recovery, and yeah, it's. I think a lot of people struggling out there can relate to this music. And in 2023, I was already starting to perform previews of this album to people in many communities. So it's already helped a lot of people, and I'm just excited to keep doing that.
And when will this album be released?
The full album, Living Rough, Hanging Tough, it comes out on March 25th, 2025, to every distributor online. And the second single, Living Rough, Hanging Tough, is the next single to drop, which comes out on March 11th.
And you're going to make us wait till then, I'm assuming, right?
For that one,
Okay.
I'd love to do another one.
You can if you want. You want to do one more?
I mean, like, well, when is this going to air?
When do you want it to air?
Well, depending on if I play one more, when that one would.
How about we'll just stick with what you got so far?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Now, as you saw, that was all via Zoom and it was hard to get a proper transition out, but let me just say this. I absolutely loved that episode. And I'm not one to normally do a lot of Zoom interviews, as you probably have picked up on over the years, but I'm so glad we did this. His music I almost teared up, and it was great. It was such just a different change of pace for us, and to hear his story and what he has done with his sobriety and the way that he's impacting people is just, it's remarkable. So I really enjoyed that. I hope you did as well. And do me a favor, share it with people and go check out his stuff. He's Andrew Ace Greenspan on basically any of your major music players, Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that. So go check out his stuff and share it with people. He's really making a big impact, and let's help him grow. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.